U.S. bypasses Congress to approve $151.8 million munitions sale to Israel. Iran will not surrender to Israel, U.S. Masoud Pezeshkian. Kurds to be crushed if they take action against Iran, warns IRGC. Iran apologizes to Gulf neighbors. The United States has approved a $151.8 million sale of munitions and related military support to Israel, bypassing the usual congressional review process. The U.S. State Department said Secretary of State Marco Rubio invoked emergency authority to allow the immediate sale, citing national security interests. The package includes 12,000 BLU 110AB 1,000-pound general-purpose bomb bodies, with the Texas-based company Repcon USA listed as the main contractor. The decision comes a week after the United States and Israel launched attacks on Iran, triggering retaliatory strikes by Tehran across the region. The move has drawn criticism from some U.S. lawmakers. Democratic Representative Gregory Meeks said, "Using emergency powers to bypass Congress suggests the administration may not have been fully prepared for the conflict." Meanwhile, Iran's ambassador to Washington says more than 300 Iranian civilians have been killed and thousands wounded in recent attacks, though the figures have not been independently verified. The conflict has also resulted in casualties on other sides, with 6 U.S. service members killed in Kuwait and at least 10 civilians killed in Israel since the escalation began. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian says Iran will never surrender to Israel or the United States as the Middle East conflict enters its second week. In a speech broadcast on state television, Pezeshkian rejected calls for Iran's unconditional surrender, saying the country would continue to defend its sovereignty. The conflict began after U.S. and Israeli strikes on Iran on February 28, which killed Iran's supreme leader Ayatollah Ali Khamenei and triggered wider regional tensions. Since then, Iran has launched missile and drone attacks, targeting Israel and U.S.-linked sites across the region, particularly in Gulf countries. Pezeshkian, who is serving on a 3-member interim leadership council following Khamenei's death, also apologized to neighboring countries affected by Iranian strikes. He said Iran would avoid further attacks on neighboring states unless assaults against Iran originate from their territory. Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, IRGC, has warned Kurdish groups against any actions that could threaten Iran's territorial integrity. According to reports, the IRGC said it carried out strikes on 3 Kurdish positions in the Kurdish Autonomous Region of northern Iraq on Saturday. In a statement, the force warned that any separatist groups attempting to undermine Iran's sovereignty would face a strong military response. The warning comes after reports that Iranian Kurdish forces based in Iraq were preparing armed units that could be deployed to Iran if necessary. Meanwhile, media reports have also raised claims that the United States Central Intelligence Agency could be supporting Kurdish groups, though the White House has denied any plan to launch an uprising in Iran through Kurdish forces. The Kurds are one of the largest ethnic groups in the Middle East, with an estimated population of around 40 million people living mainly in Iran, Iraq, Syria, and Turkey. For decades, many Kurdish groups have sought greater autonomy or an independent state, making the issue a long-standing source of regional tension. Iranian President Masoud Pezeshkian says Iran will no longer target neighboring countries unless attacks against Iran originate from their territory. In a statement, Pezeshkian apologized to Gulf states that had previously been struck during the conflict, saying Tehran had decided to avoid further attacks on neighboring countries under normal circumstances. However, reports of explosions in Bahrain and Qatar emerged shortly after the announcement. Earlier, footage circulated online appearing to show a drone strike near Dubai International Airport, prompting the airline Emirates to suspend some operations in the United Arab Emirates. During his remarks, Pezeshkian called for unity among Iranians, saying the country must set aside internal differences and defend itself amid the ongoing conflict. He also rejected comments by U.S. President Donald Trump, who said the war would end only with Iran's unconditional surrender. Pezeshkian said Iran would never surrender and would continue resisting until the crisis is resolved.